Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever time you're jumping into this live. I hope you're all very well. I am jumping on to do my Tea Time Tuesday, and thank you to those of you who contacted me about last week. Yes, I'm sorry there was no Tea Time Tuesday last week. I had a family commitment, but it's good to know that I missed. So thank you to those of you who usually go on Tea Time Tuesday. But I normally do it via Zoom, which goes on to my therapy yoga page and not my personal page. And I couldn't quite work out how to do a direct live recording from my therapy yoga page. So for anybody who's watching and is in the chat, please let me know how to do that. So for those of you who are used to seeing me on Therapy Yoga, you're probably watching me on the replay. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Astra, hence the name on the Facebook page. I'm a tea-loving mindfulness mentor, especially working with organisations who are looking to reduce stress and improve well-being of their staff. And I really help people turn stress and transform that into strength. So that's kind of what I do. And I've come from a previous corporate background where I used yoga. I came into yoga about 20 years ago. I've been teaching yoga for about 7 years now, and I came to yoga especially for managing stress and also a painful chronic condition which I believe was now I know is stress sensitive, and really I feel that mindfulness and yoga has helped me in a way that's allowed me to pretty much function both physically but also with my mental health in a way that maybe I don't even think about some of the conditions that I'm managing. So I really feel that it is something that I should share, and it's something that should be accessible to everyone in an everyday way. So my tea time sessions is really a way of me incorporating mindfulness in a way that is close to what I enjoy. So this tea time is really about a hug in a mug, if you like, a time to pause. And I will be going through the pause and the sip of awareness, as I call it. So if you're watching me on the replay and you haven't got tea, or you're live and you haven't got tea, grab some tea while I'm rambling, if you like. I mean, the session that I'm going to go through today with the tea time, I'm going to do a little mini meditation with my tea, but it can also be done without tea. And one of the things I do on my tea time live sessions is I bring guests in to talk about all different things, mainly things that we struggle with. This week, if anybody has jumped onto my podcast, I'm talking about overwhelm, and I'm giving some tips and takeaways for managing overwhelm. And overwhelm as an emotion is, I would say, quite a strong one that I experienced when I was in a very high pressured job. I worked in public affairs, in politics, and it was equally rewarding actually as it was stressful. But when stress feels like you don't actually have the resources to tackle it or deal with it, then it becomes overwhelmed. So the tips I'm offering on my podcast is just a way of interacting with that emotion, particularly when you're dealing with that. So if anybody is on and you can relate to what I'm saying, please let me know. I can't see anyone at the moment. Just having a look. But yeah, if you're on the live, give me a little wave. I'd love to wave back. And also, if you're on the replay, just feel free to make comments, and I'll get back to you afterwards. So what we will do is start with the tea meditation, and I'll talk a little bit about the podcast, because the meditation we're doing is called Rain. It's a rain meditation, and on the podcast I have a very separate rain meditation, especially for overwhelm. But I thought I would use some of the principles of rain in our little sip of awareness with tea. So I just saw someone's joined me. Hello, whoever you are, please say who you are. Good to see you. So let me talk about what I'm drinking, because that's what I do as well. That's another feature of my tea time sessions on therapy yoga. So that's therapy yoga for well-being. And so today I've got some spiced ginger tea, which I haven't made. I do make some of my teas, but today it is a Twinings tea, and it's one of my favorites. It's got some licorice in there. It's got some cloves and ginger. It's wet here in East London. So yeah, let me know where you're coming on from as well, and how you're feeling. I'm feeling like I wish summer was back. So ginger's really good for warming, and it is a feature nearly every tea time. I've always got some kind of ginger mix there. So that's what I'm drinking. But have you noticed I covered it? And I do cover my tea because hi Emma, so good to see you. So yeah, I do cover my tea because that keeps all of the goodness within the container. And I do let it sit for about 3 minutes. I know everyone decides how long they leave their tea to sit, but I do leave it for about 3 minutes. And so it isn't extremely hot, but it means what I can do is I can use my tea time pause as a sip of awareness. And so when you're thinking about coming into mindful moments or mindfulness, really what we're cultivating is awareness. The practice that I'm going to take you through will be RAIN. So it will be to recognize, to allow, to investigate, and to be in natural awareness. And so we're going to do a little mini RAIN meditation using the tea, and the awareness that I feel that is really important for coming into tea meditation is your senses. So really tuning into the flavors, the aroma, even just your hand on the warm glass. So if you were on the live, or you are on the live, and you have managed to make a cup of tea while I was introducing the session, then please do join me. And just start by, as always, feeling comfortable in your seat. And just take a nice deep breath through the nose, out through the mouth. And if you have your tea, just inviting you to take a sip of awareness, just noticing anything apparent as you drink, and I'll join you. Maybe just slowing it down in this way, you become a little bit more aware of some of the flavors. And if you're drinking a warm drink, maybe the temperature of the liquid as it descends. And just use this time to separate your day. So although you are looking into a phone or a device, it's still an opportunity to pause. And just recognize what's here for you at this moment. You might relate to feelings of overwhelm, or you might identify other thoughts or feelings. And just allow them to be here. And allow another sip of awareness, or if you're not drinking tea, maybe allow the breath to be long and deep, to settle into your seat even more. And with this allowing, maybe you can investigate with kindness how you're feeling. Just holding a supportive approach to investigating what's here for you today. And again, being aware of the taste of the tea, or again, if you haven't got tea, being aware of your seat as you're watching me. And welcome to Shilpi for joining us. Nice to see you. And so the next phase of rain is just to sit in natural awareness. So you've gone through the stages of recognizing what's here, allowing it to be, investigating with kindness, and then just sitting with natural awareness, aware of the tea, if you're drinking tea, the flavors, the aromas, or aware that you are coming into pause for the day. And the point to maybe sit with in your natural awareness is that we are more than our stories. So we use mindfulness practice just to remember, and that's another definition of mindfulness, to remember and recall these things, that we are more than our stories. And so whether you've just joined or you've taken this sip of awareness and pause from the beginning, just inviting you now to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, maybe even drawing the shoulders to the ears and releasing. And then if you've got a cup like me, taking a few more sips, and we'll close. So I hope you were able to join in with that practice. It was a very short practice, and as I jump on to tea time every Tuesday, it is literally a moment. For those of you who weren't joining in with the pause, you know, maybe look at the replay and do it when you've got time to have a cup of tea and join me in that session. But it is one of the things that I do when I do my mindfulness meditations, my workshops, and you can do it with food as well. So if you're having lunch or dinner and you're wanting to really use it as an opportunity for cultivating that awareness muscle, then, you know, turn the TV off, put the phone away, and really just take some time with creating a little bit more awareness in the senses. And so, yeah, so that's it. So I hope you felt that was a useful practice, and even if you're not practicing it, you didn't practice it now, that you can do that again. And so what I wanted to talk a little bit about was the podcast. So if you haven't had a chance to go onto my podcast, which you can find on my website, therapyyoga.co.uk, but if you're on my Facebook page at Therapy Yoga, or on this Facebook page you can also, there's a link at the bottom, the post previous to this, where you can find a link to the podcast. But really, as I said at the beginning, what I do is I help people turn stress into strength. So, you know, people that are very familiar with feelings of overwhelm, feelings of not having the resources to manage what's here for them, I really share those accessible tools that you can integrate into your life. Thank you, Shilpi. And Shilpi, do let me know whether or not any of that resonated with you with respect to overwhelm, or even what you thought of that practice. I know you came in halfway through. Do you get a chance to pause, Shilpi, in the day? And if you do, what do you do? Is it mindful reading? Do you practice mindful eating? So all those things are useful for us to start to manage what's here. And it's really about managing, because most of the emotions that feel unhelpful, we all have all the time. And there was a statistic. Hi, Janet. Well, really good to see you, Janet. So there was a statistic that I read, which was something like 80% of the time our mind defaults to a negative perspective, which I thought was incredible. You know, so what are we do? We're literally we're not happy most of the time, which is crazy, you know. But that's a scientific percentage, apparently, that we spend 80% of our time with our mind defaulting to negative thoughts. Shilpi, I'm just going to read your comment. We'll definitely do. I mainly listen to guided meditations which help. Yeah, no, that's right. And same here. And the difference, I would say, a lot of people say, well, what's the difference between mindfulness meditation and say meditation? And the difference is mindfulness meditation is generally guided, because it's guiding you to points of awareness. So I just used the mechanism of sitting with tea and drinking tea as a focal point. And, you know, other meditations, there's different focal points. You might be looking at some flowers, or you might be out in nature. You could have candles, and you might not need anyone to guide you through that process. But mindful meditation is very specific around cultivating your awareness of your senses. So you will find when you come into mindfulness meditation, the instructor or the person guiding you will be talking about things that you physically feel. So, you know, some mindfulness meditation starts with you being aware of, you know, your big toe, you know, as you sit here, which is, you know, when I first came into mindfulness meditation, which was quite weird. It took me a long time to adapt to mindfulness meditation, but I definitely prefer guided meditation as well, Shilpi. So thank you for sharing that. So as I was saying, my podcast at the moment, which you can get on my link below, is really about tips for and takeaways for dealing with overwhelm. And usually you feel overwhelmed when you can't identify resources or choices that you have to come out of that situation. So some people describe it as like suffocation, and I would say working with organizations is definitely something that comes up a lot, as well as burnout, actually, for people working in the professional environment. And there are lots of different things at the moment that are causing overwhelm, like Zoom meetings. You know, I don't know if you can feel me, for those of you on here that are doing Zoom meetings where you're not having that physical interaction with people, and actually maybe a lot of people are not having breaks in between the Zoom meetings, and that can feel quite emotionally. You can feel quite emotionally overloaded. It might not be overwhelming in the sense that it's causing stress, but it adds to that emotional overload. And another statistic as well that I read this week was that I think it's something like 80% of people, the phone is the first thing they look at when they wake up in the morning, and the last thing they look at before they go to sleep. So overload is a real issue as well, and I think that can contribute. Well, it does contribute to a feeling of overwhelm. So anybody going to admit to whether the phone is the first thing they look at in the morning and the last thing they look at night? And yeah, it might be something I'm looking to review. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with Jay Shetty. He's got a new book out at the moment called Think Like a Monk. And he was talking about living your values. So if your values are that you know, family orientated, and those are your values, are you living your values by the first thing in the morning, looking at your phone, rather than, let's say, checking up on your kids or kissing your partner or what have you, or sending some powerful affirmations to yourself before you even go on the phone? So I'm looking at things like that, what my morning routine is, what my evening routine is, to help support me as well. So it's just interesting. But yeah, any comments on that? Let me know, especially if you're on the replay, what your thoughts on that. To me, it's not hard to believe that 80% of people are doing that, because that's the world we're living in at the moment. But yeah, so if you're wanting more tips on how to manage overload, thank you, Shelby. Thanks. Yeah, if you're wanting more tips on how to manage overload, do listen to my podcast. I go into the RAIN meditation in a little bit more detail, and the RAIN meditation comes from Insight Meditation, but the version that I've adapted for the purposes of Overwhelm is from Tara Brach, and she's a very well-known American meditation teacher. From the Insight Meditation Institute, I believe. I think it's an institute. And she has different versions of RAIN. In fact, she's got a book all about the RAIN meditation. So, you know, if you're interested in more about things like, you know, guided meditation, you could check out Tara Brach as well. And her thing is really compassion and heartfulness, which is another definition of mindfulness. So, Shilpi, very helpful. I'm surely going to follow, as I'm already trying not to look at my phone as soon as I wake up. Yeah, it's one of those things that until you kind of, well, you know, some people don't see it as a problem. I don't think I did either, because especially if if your family members don't live with you, then, you know, sometimes looking at your phone is about checking in with your family, but a lot of the time it isn't. It's about looking at the news, which is normally negative. Looking at, you know, Facebook and Instagram, which is just like none of your business. It's just other people. You know, it's entertainment. But, you know, when it comes to things like pouring into yourself and pouring into others, I don't think the phone is the mechanism. Although, yes, you're on the phone now, so there are some benefits to it. But yeah, thank you, Shilpi, for your comments. Thank you for Janet for listening. I hope some of it is helpful. And yeah, so I'm gonna continue with my tea times. The time's a little bit flexible, but anyone knows me, dare I say it, there is some flexibility around time, but we will find a time that is regular, and a lot of it has been because I've invited guests, some great guests, and I'm lining up some more guests to talk about some, you know, things that I think will really help people. And a lot of the time when you invite guests, they have different time schedules, so that's why tea time has been different times. And you know, and for those of you listening who are not in East London, it might be the perfect time whenever I jump on. So next week I'll be on again. I'm thinking, and let me know, Janet and Shilpi, if this is something, anyone else who's listening on the replay, I'm thinking of creating maybe a private Facebook group. Hi Susan, good to see you. Oh, Susan, wow, long time no see. I'm usually doing this Facebook Live on my therapy yoga page, because this is all about mindfulness and yoga, But I didn't actually know how to do it. So I'm just on my private page talking to anyone who wants to jump on about my tea time sessions that I do on my therapy yoga page. I will work out how I do that on my therapy yoga page, but it's good to have everyone that's listening at the moment. So what was I saying? I forgot what I was saying before that. So I was saying that next week, I was thinking about making a private Facebook group where we could, or even a Zoom meeting where we could have my tea meditations. Susan, you've just jumped on, but before this bit of the segment, I was doing a meditation with tea, and I'm drinking spiced tea today. And I know, Janet, you all know that I love my tea. And I know you hate tea, Janet. But, there you go. You could do the practice without tea. I'm thinking about doing a Facebook group or a Zoom meeting. And let me know if you think this is a good idea, where we could do a tea or a drink meditation, preferably not alcohol. But I did get a message last week, actually, from somebody on my, I do a yoga class every Wednesday online on Zoom. And so, if anyone's interested in yoga, then do jump on. You can book it on my therapy yoga page. But someone said, they texted me during the middle of my yoga class and said, when you went for your water, I went for my wine. Which I thought was hilarious, like you're doing yoga. You're drinking wine anyway. I thought it was funny. So preferably not alcohol. And we do a little tea meditation, but then we just have a discussion about, positive affirmations. So my thing at the moment is that we don't dare to dream, and we don't dare to even think about what we could put in place to go anywhere near our dreams, much less dream. So I've really got this thing at the moment that we don't dare to dream. So I was thinking of doing a Facebook group on Daring to Dream, where we actually talk about our dreams, big dreams, small dreams, whatever. Let me know what you think. And for anybody watching on the replay, I'm going to be posting this on the therapy yoga page. So please, for those of you who are used to jumping on, do let me know what you think of that idea. Because I thought it would be quite nice for people to know what time the session's happening. There's a Zoom link. And yes, there'll be other people on the call, but I'll probably have it very limited in numbers. So let me know what you think. You can just, give me a thumbs up if you think that's a good idea. You don't have to commit to joining the group, but it's something that I'm thinking of. Okay, so if there's no other comments or queries or questions, it's been lovely jumping on to tea time. I hope for those of you who joined for the very brief pause that we had with tea, that you found it helpful. And I wish you a very nice evening or day. And I'll see you next Tuesday for Tea Time Tuesday. Thank you, guys. Thanks for listening. Take care.